Good morning, this is the 26th. It's my last day. I've been here for 3 nights, and apart from a few seconds here and there, I haven't seen the Lake District. I may as well have just sort of gone upstairs to the bathroom, turned the shower on, closed the door and camped in the bathroom, because today is quite literally the same as... Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see whether it actually saved that last file or not. I was just showing you around briefly when the GoPro Hero 9 froze up on me. Generally speaking, it's actually been behaving, this particular model, quite well. It has to be said. I've heard many bad reports about the GoPro Hero 9 freezing or doing things that it shouldn't do, and I must admit, generally speaking, this one's been doing okay. But it did just freeze just then. But I did a hard reset where I pressed and held together the power button and the record button for about 20 seconds, let go, and it shut everything down, restarted, and put a message up on the screen saying repairing file, presumably one I just done, and then 2 seconds later, file repaired. So we will see. As I was trying to explain or show you, the weather is absolutely miserable. You know, outside you can't see a thing, it's raining, and just, yeah, most unpleasant. It's 9:30. I have started packing a few bits. I've put Lassie's bed over there ready to pack away. It's a good job I was never looking for my hat while I was here, because of course I didn't need it because there wasn't any sun. But when I picked up Lassie's bed, I found my hat under her bed, so it's soaking wet and a bit grubby now. Given the weather, what I've done, because I want to have dry clothes for the journey back home, so I've got a fleece in a stuff sack here. I've put my trousers in a stuff sack, and I've put my merino top in a stuff sack. So basically those things are there should I need them, which I will when I get back to the car, because my rain jacket, as you know from yesterday, has dried out. My waterproof trousers have dried out. My shirt is still quite manky damp. Probably what I would do if I was carrying on walking is either do what I'm going to do, and that's wear the wet shirt with the waterproof over it, and I think it will dry out wearing it. And my underwear are still quite... Tony's nuts again. My underwear are quite damp as well. So I think the plan is to wear pretty much what I wore when I got wet the other day. It's just the base layers are damp, and the over layers are dry. And then when I get to the car, my wind shirt I will obviously protect in the pack, so I have a coat at the car, although I do have another coat at the car as well. And obviously I've got trousers, a merino top to put on. So again, you know, and that would be the same as if I was going from one camp to another. I would just wear the wet stuff. The only time that would be a real problem is if it was, you know, like very, very cold. But I think it'll be fine, and I think it will dry out to a degree walking. Although of course if the raincoat fails again, it's going to get wet again. And that's another reason why I'm thinking, well, I may as well wear what's already wet, because then if I wear something that's dry and it fails, then I've got extra things that are now wet and compromised. So better to keep the things that are wet wet and keep the things that are dry dry, whether you're going to the car or moving on to another camp. So just a couple of things to bear in mind for you. I've packed all my rubbish into here. I squished it down flat, so all of my rubbish is in there. Like I said, it's 9:30. I really need to try and get going really by, I really need to be gone by 10:30 realistically. So that gives me an hour, which for me is not a huge amount of time. So I've done a porridge, which I'm going to have right now, and a tea, which I will drink with the porridge. And then I'll make at least 1 or 2 more teas. And while I'm doing that, I will start to put things away. If it was freezing cold, then I would have to pack very, very quickly. Luckily, it's not too cold, so I can probably pack away relatively leisurely. But I do need to be gone in the next hour, because it's 9:30 now, 10:30. Hopefully it doesn't take much more than an hour to get back to the car, but if it takes an hour and a half, that's 12 o'clock. And bear in mind, I got a 6+ hour drive back home from here. So, you know, I need to get cracking. So I'm going to stop talking. My waterproof trousers are there. My critical dry stuff will go in there, so the sleeping bag will go in there, along with the t-shirt I'm wearing, the leggings I'm wearing, and the socks I've got on. My down jacket I put in here. I never once needed it. I'm very surprised at that. In here I've got a spare pair, or a pair of gloves in case I needed them, but of course I didn't need them. Plus a power pack. For some reason I didn't eat one evening, but then I think I had extra crackers and cheese and things like that. So I've still got 1 meal left there, which is unusual. All my power packs are packed away in there, and that's it. And I've got to pack this away again. All right, well, when I'm packing things away, obviously because I use a frameless pack, I can't start packing things away until my airbed is packed away. Now, I'm not going to do this as a full packing video, but I'm just going to point out another important reason to have a good foam mat is useful. And also you can probably see that the ground here isn't exactly the flattest, but when you put your foam mat down and then an airbed on the top of it, you can, to a large degree, or to some degree anyway, take out some of the lumps and the bumps in the ground. So I've just boiled the kettle. I thought I was going to get a kettle, is it? But you know what I mean. That rain, which had eased off, is back again. The mist is in. It's really quite unpleasant out there. We're going to have a great deal of fun getting back to the car by the looks of it. it's thankfully a relatively easy walk, but we will need navigation to get to the main path. Once we're on the main path, we'll hopefully might be below the mist. Like I said, it's so mild, I can sit here with literally, this is just a t-shirt and my wind shirt, and I can just make this tea. This might very well actually be my last tea. I kind of see how it goes, but realistically, given the weather, it might be a case of just packing everything up as quickly as possible, just so we're not in wet clothes too much. You can probably hear the rain. A little bit of a sound effect for you there. The primary reason of hitting record here was just simply to explain that, you know, a foam mat is very, very useful, because you can literally strap it on your pack at the very, very end. And of course, in the meantime, you can use it to sit on, so you're still insulated from the ground when you've put your airbed, or, you know, deflated your airbed. I've deflated it once, it will need deflating again. So what I tend to do is I deflate it once. So I deflated it once, and then I roll it out again. And this is like for its second deflation. I think we've actually got most of the air out of it. But give it a bit of a squish around your knee, just to make sure you get every last bit of air out. And then I usually try and just do it up. You can't see me doing it, but I don't try and just do it up while I'm pumping air out of it. And then that way there's a very little chance of a drop of air getting back in again. So what I do oh, I will be making another cup of tea, because very cleverly, lucky it knocked it that way, this stand that I use for this really is useless, and it knocked over and just knocked over my cup of tea. The whole lot went flying. All right, I'm just going to make another tea and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've put the kettle, the pot back on again. Right, of course, for my style of camping with a frameless pack, I need a frame on the back, or at least just something, not so much a frame, because the way I pack really acts as the frame, but I just need something at the back that acts as a barrier between what I put inside and my back. And a folded sleeping mat does the trick absolutely perfectly. So you just fold it as best as you can to approximately the same size as the back of the pack, and then it goes in flat like that, and then it's just a little bit longer. That's the back of the pack there, so it goes in a little bit longer than the back of the pack. It doesn't need to be much longer. That one is actually maybe a centimetre or 3 on the long side, but it's fine. Had the exact amount of fuel for a cup of tea which I'd made, and then this GoPro decided to fall on it, or fall right on my cup of tea, knocked it flying. I need to be packing in this pack here, which is my dry bag, my nighttime clothing, most of which I'm wearing. So I'm just going to get everything ready. I'm going to get this tea made, and because obviously the clothes that I will put on are damp, I don't want to be hanging around in them. So I'm going to make this tea, have this tea, then get changed into the damp stuff, and then get moving pretty swiftly. Some things I can start to pack away. So I did bring the soya squeeze thing, but I never bothered using it. Mostly I've been drinking tea, so I've boiled the water. A few times I have drunk water from my water bottle. I don't even know where the other water bottle is now, but I have drunk water directly from that, which was directly from the tan. If you caught my other video on this, then you'll see that I've looked around. There's nothing here, so I really can't see there being a major problem with that tan water. So a few things I can do quickly while I'm drinking my tea before I do that final change is I can put, I've undone a few pegs for ground sheet and Lassie's bed, so they can go in there. I can deflate my pillow. The soya squeeze I can put, and the water reservoirs I can put in the side of the pack. So there's still a few bits that I can do before that final, right, let's get out of night stuff into damp day clothes, and then we'll get and then we get going, you know, quite quickly. So I'm going to do these little last few minute jobs that I can do here relatively comfortably, and then I'll get going, and hopefully, you know, I will be able to chat with you as we walk. Now, if the weather permits and I can get the camera out a few times, then I will. Otherwise, I've already done one misty wet walk, so I won't do another one. So if this is it, then I will catch you, and that rain is coming back down again, then I will catch you in probably 2 or 3 weeks time back down on Dartmoor, hopefully, and we'll kind of like go from there. Anyway, I will see you soon. I'll try and do another live stream sometime in the not too distant future, but that may have to wait. If you stayed on, then good for you. I wasn't going to record anymore. In fact, I even packed my camera away, but the weather has cleared marginally and it's not raining now. The other day I was coming up this stream. This is a stream here I was coming up here, and when I got near the top, I had already decided previously that I was going to go to the right and then over to the tarn that way. Now I definitely should have done that, because if I'd have done that I would have got there in 10 minutes from here ish. Whereas what I ended up doing in the end was coming up here and around those rocks up the top, which took me over realistically towards the Brimful Beck, and then I had to go around those rocks at the back and then over to camp, which probably took at least twice if not 3 times as long to go around. So I definitely should have stuck with my original plan. I measured on my compass, which you can see there, okay, maybe there, the top of the middle stream where my thumb is to the tarn is around about, this is a 1:25, around about 500 to 600 meters. I took the compass bearing and counted to 600, in fact coming across there. So effectively we came straight in a straight line almost to this beck down here, or this little stream down here, and I counted around about 450. So I must have very manly strides, because I was working on about 1 meter per, you know, per step. So I was counting 100 per right foot. And some of them were quite short because I was coming down a couple of little inclines. So, but I counted to around about 450 when I got to this little stream coming down. So I did just do a check on the GPS and my watch just to make sure that this was the stream, and it was the stream that I had to come down. So basically we're going to take the same route as we did yesterday, and we're going to follow this stream down. Then there's a path that will take us back. Like I said, this was actually, you know, quite a nice area, and I think if the weather is good, this would be quite a nice place to visit, you know, again, even if I stayed in camp. If the weather was good, I could come for a walk just down here and just have a look at those waterfalls down there, which you may or may not be able to see on the GoPro, but that looks quite easy to get to from up there. That would be quite a nice little area to explore. And then of course there's the hill behind. I could do a bit more of a walk around there, although how easy it would be to get back to camp, I'm not sure. So there are a few options here for the future. I think probably realistically, I will probably save that for spring now, because it's going to start getting dark quite early. But this has certainly been a very, very enjoyable first outing to the lakes, you know, as an absolute adventure. Never sort of done this type of thing before. Let's walk a bit, because otherwise I'm going to get behind. It's already 20 past 11. I've definitely enjoyed this, and it's definitely something that I will do again in the not too distant future. Whether realistically this year now, or I will wait until next year, try and maybe come up in the early spring, maybe sort of March time, late March maybe, when it's not dark until gone 7 o'clock like it was here. And then that way at least I know that if it does get dark, it won't be until 7 o'clock. And even if I'm a bit behind getting here, you know, I still have some chance of light left. So we're just gonna keep going down here. That's a view of Wasdale area. Obviously Scarfell Pike is over there somewhere, and obviously we're going to be walking right to the end of this valley, sort of where those trees are. It didn't take long to find the path. We've got down to the path, just took an extra few moments, and now really we just follow this path carefully all the way back now. Report on clothes. You notice that my hat that was soaking wet I've put on my head. I had initially put my hood up over the top of it, but it's just starting to dry out naturally. The shirt, which you remember was wet, is still damp, but I'm pretty sure it's starting to dry out a little bit under this waterproof. I didn't put my trousers on. I've only got my waterproofs on over my legs, you know, obviously over my wet underwear, and it feels like that's starting to dry out a bit as well. So I know initially testing, so I know initially you're probably thinking, oh no, how does he ever put wet clothing on? Well, you know, really you've got two options. If you're out here for several days, you cannot bring your wardrobe with you, clearly. So your options are, you either put on some spare clothes that you carry with you, which is extra weight, or you utilize what you have, just making sure clearly that nighttime stuff never ever comes outside, ever, unless it's the summer and it's absolutely dry. You know, that's different. If you just want to go out for a pee, or you just want to go outside for a few minutes, you know, that's really the only exception for me. Other than that, nighttime stuff stays inside, and that basically consists of leggings, liner socks, thin liner socks, a t-shirt and a down jacket. Now your down jacket you may obviously want to wear outside at a stop, and clearly you're only going to be wearing that if it's not raining, because you're not going to put it on in the rain, so that's okay. Other than that, that basic stuff never leaves the dry bag with the sleeping bag, so you always are guaranteed basic minimal dry stuff in camp. Now of course you could wear light, you could put on, you know, your waterproof, you could put on your trousers if you wanted to, but if there's a chance they're already, you know, they're going to get wet, then why risk them? Just wear your waterproof trousers by themselves, which is what I've done here. Because it's not so cold, I have effectively, basically, just worn my wet shirt, which got wet the other day, as you know, if you follow this series whenever I get it edited, and the raincoat that got wet. Well, the raincoat dried in camp eventually. The shirt never really dried, but it did, you know, eventually. Well, the shirt never really dried, so it was always slightly damp, so I didn't put that on until quite literally the last minute in camp, before leaving camp. And luckily, because it's not cold, it's just a slight breeze in the air, the rain has stopped, so I'm now drying out. It's not cold, I'm not going to get hypothermia, therefore I can just naturally dry out by wearing it what was damp. And if it had rained, and my waterproof system, which we already know is suspect, then the only thing that's going to get wet is what I already had wet. I guess if it had been particularly cold, then of course I could have put my fleece on, and even if the fleece got wet, it would act as an insulating layer between the waterproof and my shirt underneath. So I would have had, Lassie, so I would have had, you know, some protection there, plus plenty still of dry layers for camp. My merino long sleeve I would have kept dry. My t-shirt's always dry. My wind shirt I would have kept dry because I wouldn't have worn it. I wouldn't have risked that getting wet. So you only need, Lassie, so you only need your 6 or 7 separate layers, and that's all you need for most situations realistically, and then you're not having to carry too much.